Like I said, I'm a professional. Thank you for being here, everybody. If it's your first time at Music Expo, you're in for a treat. If you're a return visitor, thanks for being back. And thanks to Loic especially for having us. He's a very busy man, and so if you see him, give him a big hug and thank him. I'm excited about this session with DECAP. I've got a bunch of great questions written out here. If we have time at the end, we may have time for questions. I don't know how that's gonna go, but you're in for a treat. So if you don't know me, I'm Jeff Straw. Welcome to day 2 of the Music Expo. Again, thanks to Loic for having us back to participate. I think I've spoken at every one of these in San Francisco in some capacity. I'm really honored to be a part of it again. I'm a full-time musician. I'm a house music DJ, producer, and saxophonist. And yes, I play saxophone while I DJ, which is my angle on this whole scene. I'm also a photographer, a mentor, record producer, etc. I do a lot of different things. But we're not here to learn about me. We're here to learn about this guy. So 10 years ago, I got to interview DECAP, and it's been such an honor and a privilege to get to watch his career completely change and blossom, and the success you've had, man, in these last 10 years. I got all emotional about it when we were talking earlier this week, because it's like, I like to see my friends win in this industry. Like, I'm a big fan of seeing people win, and when I see them along the way, like, it means a lot to me, man. So thank you for being here, and yeah, just congrats on that. So, if you don't know who this guy is, from underground producer to global brand, DECAP has built a brand and sonic identity that resonates across the entire music industry. Early career wins include production placements with seminal artists like Talib Kweli and Snoop Dogg. His own original music productions and collaborations have earned tens of millions of streams and a very loyal audience month over month. He's now a multi-platinum producer and the creator of Drums That Knock, whose drum sounds can be heard on global hits from artists that you've never heard. Artists, tiny little independent artists like Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, Bad Bunny, Eminem, Charlie XCX, Chainsmokers. I mean, what? And a record that I didn't know that you're on is the Anderson .Paak, Corday, Two Friends. I love that track so much. So he sent me a playlist of all these big placement tunes that have used his drums, and it's just inspiring to see that your sounds are shaping the sound of music today, man. So his newest endeavor is entering the plug-in market with 2 exciting products, Knock and Knock Clipper. So he's also, you know, a technologist. So this conversation will explore creative, strategic, and the personal decisions behind your journey. And we'll discuss brand building, product creation, and how you've sustained authenticity at the scale that you have. So please join me in a big hand for DECAP.
Thank you so much. Really happy to be here. Shout out to Loic, this event's amazing. It's so good to be back. It's been a while since I've been here, so happy to be here. And thank you, Jeff, man.
Yeah, man, we're excited. So one of the things we talked about is wild dreams and how important it is to have wild dreams. So talk to me a little bit about your humble beginnings and how you allowed yourself to dream in those early days, and what's a takeaway for people in the room that are maybe in that early phase of their career?
So just thinking back, when I started, I was a fan of hip hop. Wu-Tang, DJ Premier, Dr. Dre, like that's the sound that really moved me. As I, was inspired by this music, I wanted to make it. So really listening to this music inspired me to go and try to recreate that feeling that I had when I first heard those artists. So I set up a studio in my parents' basement in Nashua, New Hampshire, and eventually I started a 9-member rap group called Young Tribe, and we would get together in my parents' basement and record on a 4-track Tascam Porta 2. And we would just make records. I had a $100 or $60 Radio Shack mic, and we would just make these songs. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I used to post on this forum, undergroundhiphop.com, and would just learn the tools of the trade for making records, making little songs on our 4-track tape deck. So that was the early days, and then as I started making more beats, making more records, I realized that, hey, this is really what I want to keep doing. And I'm starting to feel the feelings that I felt when I first heard these inspiring records, and I just wanted to keep that feeling going. And when I showed people in high school, they were impressed. They were junior high, high school, you know. They would hear what I did and be like, hey, you got something here. And so I realized that, hey, maybe I can make some money doing this. I sold my first 4 beats to someone I met on undergroundhiphop.com for $12.50 each beat.
Let's go.
So 4 beats for $50, and I was stoked. He sent me a check in the mail, and I was like, I can actually make money doing what I enjoy doing. So that's when I kind of realized not only can I do something that inspires me, but make money at it too.
Was that an exclusive or non-exclusive license?
I had no idea of even the concept of exclusive.
Of course you didn't.
Non-exclusive.
That's what's so good, right? You were like, I made real money. I can spend this off the thing I made with my sampler.
Totally.
That's awesome. How did your artistic identity take shape in those early days? So, you know, fast forward a little bit into sort of how you became DECAP after this group. How did that your identity take shape? And, you know, you started to make obviously now more than $50 a pop with your deals, but like how did those early days go from like, okay, $50 for my very first transaction to solo career? What did that early phase look like?
Yeah, so as I was making more and more music and experimenting with sounds, working with new artists, you know, gaining more popularity in high school, college, it really was about staying consistent and just making more and more music, realizing that this could be a career path, seeing some signs of making money, doing what I love. I think naturally, as you keep going with it, you keep learning more about your tools, your DAW, the music itself. I think as I just kept doing that, it evolved very naturally. And I just started to develop a flow, and I guess some people were starting to say, like, you have your own sound. Oh, your mixes sound really good. It was through all the practice of continuously making music.
Did you find, or was there a moment when you realized your sound was a little different and that you had something distinct? Like a lot of people are making music, a lot of people are making hip hop. Was there a moment or a phase for you where you felt like, I feel like I have an identifiable sound? How important was that?
If I'm completely honest, in the beginning, I just wanted to be DJ Premier.
Right.
I would just listen to what DJ Premier did and
Goals.
literally copy exactly what he did and try to make something that sounded just like him. So I was kind of like reverse engineering what I heard. And through that, I did that with a lot of different artists. Like I really studied their sound, and I kind of took what they created and tried to copy it. And I think that in the beginning, copying is super important for some people, because you can really learn how the mind of that artist works and technically how they do it. And through copying, I feel like I copied so many artists in the beginning and got inspired from their sound. I think what happens is you just start creating your own thing, because you're copying this, you're copying that, you're taking inspiration from this, taking inspiration from that. I think all of a sudden what happened at a certain point, people are like, wow, DECAP just has his own sound, and in my mind, it's just a culmination of all my influences that I respect so much. So I would say now, most people say, oh, when they hear one of my tracks, they know it's a DECAP track. But in my mind, I'm like, man, this is a culmination of all the people I respect.
I love that, man. Drawing from the inspiration and taking the ingredients. So a lot of people think, and I coach artists and things like that, and I think there's a mentality, especially in early careers, that a manager will fix a lot of things for me. And if I get a manager, all these doors are going to open, and it's kind of like a magic bullet. Talk to me about when you first got management. Was it that magic bullet or not? And what did you learn in that process?
Yeah, when you're first starting out, the thought is, I want to get as far as I possibly can. And there's an idea out there that getting management will help you evolve your career from where it is to where you'll be. Oh, the manager will bring me opportunities. They will bring me the magic bullet for my career. And so I went on that path early on. I was like, I want to get management. And I ran into a number of situations where I worked with managers and it just didn't line up. Whether it be it just wasn't a good fit or I hadn't established enough. I think in the beginning of your career, it's not necessarily true that you should be looking for management right away. Right now, just this year, I started working with my manager. I have 2 managers, and it is a great relationship because it's lined up. What I bring to the table is something that they can work with. But when you're first starting out, it might not be the right time. And I think that it's at a time when it makes sense, and every relationship is unique. When you form that relationship with a manager, it should be at the right time where you can work together and grow the career and not try to force a situation like that.
I like that. Let's talk about Drums That Knock. So, cultural impact, most people, when you think of a sample pack, the words cultural impact don't follow suit, right? But I think I'm not overstating that this series of sample packs that you've put together with the Drums That Knock series have had a massive impact on music and the culture of music production and the sound of a lot of things that are going on today. So it's really become like a defining element for this generation of producers. How did Drums That Knock progress to the point where you're at now, contributing sounds to global hit records? And was there something that surprised you most about that journey?
Totally. When I started Drums That Knock, it just started as an idea. And my thought was, I'm going to put out some of the drum sounds that I want to use in my records. So I put together my first pack, didn't really think a whole lot about it. Didn't put a whole lot of time into it, was just starting to get into sound design. And when I put it out, it resonated. It was it kind of went viral. It kind of popped off a bit. And that's when I realized that there's something here. I'm going to keep going with it. I'm going to keep making these Drums That Knock. And, you know, the first time I heard it on a hit record, it was Niall Horan from One Direction, and my shout was used on the record. And I was like, what? This is on the radio all the time. It was...
like your voice, your
shout.
shout.
It was my voice, me shouting. It was used on the record. And it was like, boom, 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 woo. And I was just like, okay, there's something here. And so I decided to keep going with it, and then it just kind of had a life of its own.
So that was the first big one. There's been a lot since then. Is there any that were super meaningful, like an artist that you always looked up to in those early days that now, holy shit, they're using your sounds? Or has there been a story like that?
There's a number of them. There's so many records, and at this point, it's always an honor when people want to use something I created and use it on their records, and that just spreads. One that comes to my mind is, I have 2 that come to my mind right now. The first time I heard a record, it was Culpables by Karol G and Annual AA, where pretty much every sound on the record was from Drums That Knock. The melody, my vocals, the drums, and it got billions of plays with a B. So I was just like, wow. And the second one that comes to my mind that's kind of a funny one, I had this vocal shout that Beyonce used, and it was actually, the shout was me going, yup. I was imitating Jay-Z, and Beyonce used that one.
Yo, that's full circle. That's crazy. I love that, man. So maybe there's producers in the room that are thinking of sample pack creation as the thing that they want to do, or maybe they just want to dabble with it and experiment. What guidance would you offer on developing something original, and also what's the best way to get those sounds to market?
You know, the truth is there are a lot of sample packs out there. But if you have something to offer, don't be afraid to get it out there. Make sure that you take your time. You know, there's nothing going on like clipping or, clicks or pops at the beginning or end. All the choices are intentional. Make it good, but don't
Sorry, say that again?
Make it good.
Okay, cool.
Make it a good pack, but don't overthink it. Get it out there. Take a risk. Don't get in your head. I don't know if this is going to be good or not. If you believe it's good and it's something you would use, somebody else will want it too.
Literally, so I'm working on a saxophone sample pack, and that's literally the advice you gave to me this week. So he's not just saying that on stage. And then what about bringing them to market? Like how do you go about finding someone to help you partner and get them to the producers of the world? What's that look like?
You know, I think there's different theories about getting it to market. I think what I would personally do if I were to start over today is I would release it on my own store. So sign up for like a Shopify or something similar to that and put it up for sale on the store. I think from there, what that does is establish ownership, so it becomes yours. It's on your store, you collect 100% of the profits. And then if there's a situation where you want to partner with a bigger label, since it's already on your page, you're approaching it from the situation where you've released it and they can also have access to releasing it. That's how I would personally approach it, because then you're the core of your business, and then it goes out to different distributors from there.
Fair, that's cool. So you went from this sample pack series that's crushing it, Drums That Knock, and now you have plugins under the same kind of umbrella brand with Knock. How did you get that idea to even start into that world?
Drums That Knock was something that had its own impact, and I was thinking, how can I expand this to give producers tools to help them get to the next level? I realized that I kind of switched mentality from how can I get my music heard or placed to how can I help other producers make the best music possible so they can get heard and make the best music that they possibly can. So I formed the company's called Knock Audio, and my first plugin's called Knock. And what I wanted to do is take the secret sauce of Drums That Knock and put it in a real simple to use interface so a producer could get it, quickly start turning a few knobs and get that sound out of it. So my goal was to make it just really easy to use, really inspiring, and have all the secret sauce I used in Drums That Knock so you can use it on any drums.
And that morphed into also having Knock Clipper, which is the newer of the two products. Do you have plans to make a third? Is there stuff in the works?
Yeah, so working on plugins right now.
Cool.
Definitely got stuff coming out next year. And it's the company's Knock Audio, and it is the umbrella of all these things, all things Knock.
And along the same lines, is that your ownership and then you distribute through other platforms for leasing or buying, or the only place people can get it is through your site? How's that model work?
Totally, yeah. So Knock Audio is the distributor of all the plugins, and we also work with partners.
Nice. Yeah. What was the big problem you feel like you were solving? Is it that, I'll let you speak to it instead of trying to give you multiple choice question, but I think the best tools help us solve problems. And it sounds like this tool has started to be used by people. Like, what was the problem you set out to solve with that series?
Well, it started with Drums That Knock, and the thought was, I don't know if, back in the day when you would download a sample pack, sometimes there was inconsistencies, like the kicks hit at different levels, the snares hit at different levels. I wanted to create one pack where all the sounds are already pre-mixed, so you can just take it, put it in your record, and it'll sound like it's finished. It'll already feel mixed, it'll already feel full. And then with Knock, what I wanted to do was allow you to have these tools that I use to make Drums That Knock to get any drums that you have to that point where it's fully mixed, and to make it so easy to use that it feels creative, it feels fun.
Do you find people are telling you like, yo, I use it on my drums, that's what you told me to do, but I'm also using it on all these other things, and has there been a surprise factor for the way people are using this tool?
Absolutely, like I hear people saying, oh, I put Knock on my master, don't tell nobody.
Right.
I put it on vocals. I blast the saturation on vocals. So there's different ways you can use it. I made it for drums, but it can be used for anything.
It's like once you release a song, the market is going to think what the market's going to think. People are going to have their interpretations. A plugin is essentially the same thing, right? Like people are going to use it the way they're going to use it.
It has totally a life of its own.
Yeah.
Like I had an intention, but once you release it to the world, it's like the people say what it is. I don't have a say anymore.
Yeah, that's really cool. So shifting gears away from that a little bit, let's talk about finding purpose. You share with me the importance of finding your purpose and individual authenticity. What did that journey look like for you, and what advice can you give about the importance of that to people here?
So, creating music is, for one, like making a career in music, there is a sense of, you have to know entrepreneurship often. If you're not, getting paid by corporate, you're making music, you're getting paid for it. I think when you wake up in the morning, you have to be in a certain state of mind. If you're feeling negative, that's going to impact how you move as an entrepreneur. You don't just show up at work. You have to create your life. You have to create your work. So for me, I think the coping mechanism, or the way that I structured my life, is how can I maximize my state of being, be in the best possible state of being to ensure that I get the best results. So that led to things like meditation. That led to things like prioritizing mental health. That led to prioritizing my state of mind over everything, even over my career. And what I realized from that is you are the creator of your life, and you have the ability to influence your life, especially when you center your mind and you get clear about what you want. You have good intentions, good goals, clear goals. You write them down. I think all these things are super important.
You shared with me backstage a little bit about drama and how you said, I'm allergic to drama. I've never heard anybody say that. Like, how does that show up for you day to day?
Someone brought it to my attention, and I don't even really think about that anymore, because at this point, no drama can enter my life at all. Because when I'm around drama, it just derails everything. It moves everything in the wrong direction. I'm not clear. I'm not emotionally in a clear space. And for me, emotional clarity is the most important thing. So if I surrounded myself with drama, I don't think I'd be able to accomplish the things that I accomplish. I think that when you make the step to saying, I'm going to make a career in music, I'm going to make a career in whatever it is, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to develop products, whatever it is, I think it's super important to let the things that are falling away fall away, because everything's, in my experience, everything starts with an intention. And once you have that intention in place, when you're really focused on it and focused on achieving that goal or that intention, there are going to be certain relationships, situations, habits, addictions that fall away from your life. And you have to really follow that call towards your intention. Because when you make up your mind and decide something and really decide it with your whole self, I'm going to do this, you're going to be, tested's the wrong word, you're going to be challenged by the things that are out of alignment with the life that you're trying to make and create. So being willing to let things go, being willing to pursue that path at all costs is super important, and scary sometimes.
Yeah, confronting. I thought you were just going to hear about drum sounds. Zen, the Zen master here. It's important, right? Like this stuff that I don't feel like it's talked about in these kind of spaces much, like mental health. You're not going to hear that talked about all day long. You're going to hear about drum sounds, right? And compression algorithms and DSP chips and stuff like that. So, but like we're human at the end of the day. This is a human business. This is a business of relationships. This is a business of showing up. So speaking of that, like you and I both lean into this idea of providing value to people. Like I've built my whole career on providing value to other people in a number of different ways. How does that show up for you today? And did it also help you kind of early on, this notion of providing value to people?
Totally. The first thing I think about when you say that is when I heard this theory that made a lot of sense. When you enter into a room or wherever you are, like where you are in any moment, think about how you can provide the maximum value to the situation you're in. And when you do that and you give value without expecting anything in return, over and over and over, and you just make it a point to just give value, give value, give value, you have no idea how that's going to change your life. And the more you do that, I learned this concept a long time ago, that the more you give value, give value, give value without expecting anything in return, what happens is you start to learn how to receive value from others and from situations. And you get into this kind of like balanced type space, this Zen space or whatever, where you learn to give and receive value in your life.
I got chills during part of that. Seriously, like, that's it. It's the magic sauce, is being valuable to others, being of service to others. It's well said, man. What would you offer to producers or sound designers today that are trying to build something meaningful and long-lasting?
I'd say just approach it with love. Like, put love into every sound. Like, put your energy into it. Don't copy something because it's a trend or because it's what others are doing. Like, there's a possibility that if you just put love into your craft and you put it out there, others will feel that. Because we're all human at the end of the day, and we can feel that intention in the music. So put your love into it, put your care into it, take your time on it. Don't copy trends. Don't be afraid to set the new standard or put something out there that's meaningful to you.
Hell yeah. Speaking of meaningful, like, what's inspiring to you right now in terms of culturally, maybe technology, music? Like, what's something that fires you up outside of the things that you're making? Because clearly you're excited about that. But inputs, like, what do you take as inputs that really fires you up?
There's just so many tools out there right now. I've been in a lot of conversations lately with other producers, and I've heard a mixed bag, but some people think it's a negative thing that making music is so accessible now. I actually am inspired by that. Like, just the fact that anybody who wants to make music, no matter what level you're at, if you've never made music in your life and you spend one day learning everything you can about, say, Ableton or something like that, whatever DAW you choose, if you spend one day learning about it, you will be ahead of 99% of people in the world at doing that thing just by one day. And the number of tools out there are ridiculous right now. And it's also making it possible for people in poor countries to be able to get started making music. It's amazing. That's inspiring me, the number of tools and the amount of accessibility. I'm pro accessibility in this game.
Hell yeah. You said you really wanted people to leave with a notion of, like, I can do this too. Is there, like, how do we find that on days when we wake up and, like, you know, the rent's late, hot water's not working, or whatever challenges we're facing, like, in external world? How do we break through that back into this space of, I'm here for a purpose, I can do the things that I set out to do?
I think it's a few things. I think one, sometimes you won't feel like doing it. It's just the way it is. You're not going to want to make music, even if you've been doing it 20 years and it's your job.
Especially if you've been doing it for 20 years for some of us, right?
Yeah, you're not going to want to do it. And I read this book. It was The Path of Least Resistance by Robert Fritz. And one thing he talked about was the thing that separates the hobbyist from the pro is the pro will in this case make music whether or not they want to. It's not up for, oh, I'm inspired, I'm not inspired. It's irrelevant. If your goal is to make a career in music, you're just going to do it. And there's no waiting for inspiration or doing any of that. So that's one side of the extreme. And I think the other side is, if you've been going hard, take a break, go for a walk, meditate, spend time with your family, spend time with your friends, do something different to get outside of the box. So I think both of those apply.
You've been making a beat a day for a while now, right? You got back into producing music for yourself. How has that shifted your relationship to production again?
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes, like, for example, I just moved into a new spot over the last couple months, so setting up the studio, you're not really trying to make music during that time. So a buddy of mine, Eldre, shout out to Eldre, he started doing Beattober and made a beat every day. And I'm looking at his Instagram story, kind of like partially like feeling really good for him, partially jealous, like, damn, like what am I doing with my life? And so I was like, okay, I want to make a beat a day. And I started doing it. The first couple beats were cool, and then I got into a stride, and now I feel like I'm making some really dope shit. So it feels good to get into these kind of flows where you challenge yourself to, if you make beats, make a beat a day. If you write songs, you could do a song every other day or something like that. So being consistent with the craft is super inspiring to getting back into it, like doing something every day.
This is super off script, but what you just said touches on this, like the comparison that we're all so easily guilty of, right? Seeing our friends shit on Instagram and they're in this city or playing this gig or whatever that we want to be doing. There's two ways to look at that. Three ways. One is I'm stoked for my friend because they're winning, right? We started the conversation with that. The other two are I can be bitter and jealous and surly, or I can say, well, what steps are they taking to follow suit? And that's exactly what you've just done. Like you've kicked yourself back in gear and you're writing again, and you're now, however many days later, you're stoked, right? So it's this looking at comparison as not a negative thing always, if you can then be inspired by sort of our peers and some of the people that we're coming up with. So that's cool, man. Yeah.
And one more thing I want to say is when I make a beat a day, what I try to do is create it, let it be what it is, mix it down and save it in a folder. So I call it, I was on a live stream and this just came in. I was like, it's the 3M technique. Make it, mix it down, and move on. So you're not really attached to it being good. You're just making it, putting it out there, putting it on your hard drive or whatever.
How do you think about your work? Because obviously, like now you're running a company with the plugins, you've got the sample series, you're making music. Are there days that you allocate to certain things, or do you break up each day to give yourself hours for different tasks? Like what is the logistics of the DECAP world look like in that regard?
Yeah, I have weekly meetings with my team, and we get aligned on new opportunities that have come in, things that we have to respond to, more on the strategic side of things. Sure. and what needs to get done for the business. Time spent lately every day making music. Personally, I try not to be overly structured, but you still have to have some structure where you have time for meeting with the team, planning. And at the end of the day, and this is just how I'm wired, like I just kind of live and breathe this stuff, so it's not work to me. So when I'm in the studio, it's not like I'm working. I'm just playing. I'm doing what I do, and this is all play to me. I feel like I'm privileged in the sense that I built a life where every day is play. This is play. Like I'm on stage right now. This is just part of my play. It's not work. I don't work. I play every day.
People are like, man, you play so many shows. Aren't you tired? I'm like, yes, but not really. I love it, right? I do what I do because I love it. And I love that you mentioned this, like you've created a life, you've designed a life. Like everybody in this room has that ability. It takes intention, it takes showing up for yourself, prioritizing your brand, your career over the external world, right? The answering the inbox sometimes. So I think we've got time for a couple questions. Are we set up with a mic for questions? Does anybody know? I thought they set up a mic. If not, I can kind of, we've got a mic up here. So if anybody has a question, you can just step a couple paces forward and there should be a mic that's live there. Hopefully we get it on record. Maybe I'll repeat it, the question. He's coming to help. Give it 2 seconds. While we're doing that, hey, quick round of applause for this guy, huh? I think it's working. All right. Maybe? Go ahead.
Test. Oh,
there we go.
There we go.
Nice. I can actually hear that one.
Thank you for coming, for one. Appreciate you being here. Been a big fan of you for years. 2 questions, if I can. First one is any tools that you use and recommend for sound design? And then last question is any tips that you have for finishing beats?
Love it. So Any questions or any tools that I recommend for sound design? I think that learning, well, to start, whatever DAW you use has a synth built into it. Like, I'm an Ableton user, and there's something called Operator in Ableton. How many of you guys know about Operator? Oh, wow, okay. So learning Operator, like watching YouTube tutorials and just learning what it does and how to make, how to make a kick drum, how to make a snare, hi-hat, how to make synth patches. That's like a real good place to start. And then, once you really learn that, you could do something like Serum or Wavetable or hardware synths. And a lot of the things you learn from using one synth will transfer to another one. That's one way. Also, playing around with time stretching, layering, distorting, and just fucking with your sounds.
Play. It's back to the notion of play, right?
Have fun with it. And the other question you had, I'm sorry, what was it?
Finishing.
Finishing beats.
So, finishing beats. I think that I've never had a problem finishing beats because the way I approach it is, realistically, a finished song is what, like between 2 to 3 minutes, right? So, create your verse section, create your hook section, or even like one approach, right? I'll just let you know one of my approaches often is I'll make one 8-bar loop with like all the elements, and then I loop it and just take away elements. So make it very simple in some sections, and then it brings everything else you added into the chorus. So I feel like creating everything in one loop, duplicating it, and then taking away, and then you build your verse, your hook, or whatever your track calls for. That's how I personally like to do it.
Subtractive arrangement. I love it. We got time for another question. Thank you for that, man.
How much time we got?
5 more minutes. Yep.
Yo, what's up, DECAP? How's it going, brother?
What's up, man?
Love you, appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Question on collaboration. I'm curious, like, as a producer, beat maker, how often your collaborations are in person with people versus, like, do you work with people online from other countries around the world as well? And if so, like, what's the percentage of that? Because asking because, like, I realize these days I'm more keen to just work with someone locally. And yeah, I'm just curious, like, how you balance those two.
Yeah, I definitely, so in terms of collaboration, like what percentage do I, collaborate with someone in person? What percentage do I do it alone or work with someone overseas or something like that? I've done all of it. Like, I've had people send in loops and, send me, different elements that I'll incorporate, or we'll go back and forth with stuff. I've also done a lot of stuff alone. I would say the most important thing, I'm going to divert the question a little bit. I like being in a room with windows. That's the most important to me.
You're not a Mac guy? Oh, sorry.
Not a Windows laptop. That's a whole other topic, though. I need to be in a room with sunlight. That's number one. I can't be I'm done being in dark rooms. I will not go in dark rooms anymore. That's one thing. The other thing, I really enjoy collabing because there is something that happens when you're sitting in the room with someone and you create magic. And there's been phases where I didn't even want to sit down and make music on my own because I wanted other artists' input. I wanted that connection. I wanted that creation. However, right now in this moment, I'm actually enjoying producing solo again. Like, I'm actually really enjoying sitting in the studio with no other input and only my ideas. And I think that it just ebbs and flows. And whatever stage you're in, just trust that process. It changes over time. Right now, it's like, I often don't even want to be in the studio collabing in this moment. But that's rare, because when I first came out to LA last year, it was all about collaboration. I didn't want to make anything alone. So it just ebbs and flows.
Follow-up question. Do you think you can live in a place like the Bay Area or like a smaller town than Los Angeles and make it?
So you're asking, do I think you can make it in just being in a place like the Bay Area versus
Sure.
Los Angeles?
Yeah,
Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I lived in San Francisco for 10 years, and I built like pretty much everything that I have going now in San Francisco.
Brad, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think that about wraps up our session. Again, another big hand from my man, DECAP.
Man, thank you guys so much. I appreciate this. Thanks for listening. Thanks for giving me an opportunity. Thank you, Jeff.
He may have time to take a couple questions in the hall. If there was something you didn't get a chance to ask and you see him floating around, we're going to try and do a few of those. So grab us out in the hall. Thanks again. I'm Jeff Straw. Appreciate you. Loic, if you're here, thanks again for having us, man. And
Shout out to Loic.
Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Have a good one.
Shine.